Jeez, hold on. It logged me off. Okay, it should be starting up now. Okay, how do I sound now? Hi everyone, if you're watching a recording, do fast forward about 5 minutes. We're just getting started a little bit early, as always, getting stuff up and running. Okay. All right, there we go. What are we doing? What are we doing? So this is Foursquare. If you're just hanging out, watching while we get up and running here. So this is this week's Zoom because I had to postpone from last week because I shipped out the wrong tube. Oops. And anyway, so I like this piece because it articulates. See? Sort of fun, right? But clearly I have bent the wire. Hold on. See what's going on here. There we go. There we go. All right. Fun stuff. I'm digging my wire here. So if you haven't signed up for this class yet, you still can. You can join in on the Zoom if you don't want the kit. You definitely do that. So that's what that is. And of course, I'm wearing my Secret Garden bracelet. Yeah. Cool. Coolness. So hello everybody from the East Coast with all your snow. I hope you guys are keeping warm out there and no damage, right? Hopefully, I'm thinking that would be a good thing if there's no damage. It seems as if it has completely passed over us. And we only got a sprinkling of snow. Inch or two, right Andy? Oh, Andy says 3 or 4. I only see like an inch or 2 out there at this point, but it has warmed up a little bit, which is great. I feel like I'm ready for spring, but the weather tells us that it is still winter, and we are working with. We're about to get more snow, so we're definitely working with the white stuff outside for a while yet. So that's great. Anyway. Andy's with me as always. Again, if you're watching a recording, fast forward 2 minutes at this point. We're going to start about there. Andy's with me in my ear telling me what everybody's saying, sort of. If you have questions, he'll tell me. Outside of that, Anyway, you guys know I'm out here. I know you're out there. And all that good stuff. So what's going on? What's going on this week? Oh my gosh, virtuallyevercrafting.com, virtuallyevercrafting.com. Opened up registration yesterday, so that's exciting. Yeah, lots of classes, 108 classes altogether, and I believe we ended up with 20 plus shorts, which means they're live demos where you can ask questions and pick up a technique or two. And they're just meant to be informative and so that you can ask questions and figure out what's going on. And yeah, even and what's new in the roster, 7 new instructors. That's pretty cool. And 5 instructors are international. Yeah, crazy time zones. There's Storm Rising from Australia. Oh my gosh. And of course we have Sully and Ariane from Germany and Austria, and Pam and Michelle from Canada. So that's not so bad with the time zones, but Australia, wow, that's going to be fun. So we're still trying to figure out. Yeah, she's going to have to get up probably at 3 o'clock in the morning to do some of these classes. But we're thrilled to have her. Her class is bone carving. Yeah, I want to take the class too, but of course I'm working, so we'll see how that goes. But the other one that's pretty exciting and new is Janet Libby is joining us for Virtually Ever Crafting, and she's going to be teaching 2 beginner glass bead making, off mandrel. Let's see, one was an off mandrel heart, and the other one is on mandrel. But I thought it was really interesting when she put together this proposal that you could do this class with limited amount of tools, and your investment, really, the kit is like $90, and you get the torch head and the mandrels and everything you need to get started. You have to find your own gas, of course, but and then of course there's the course fee. But really, for $90 for the kit, I was like, I might have a new hobby. So you never know if I show up to your class. But I think I'm teaching during that time too. But anyway, okay, it's 1 o'clock. Today is Wednesday, February 3rd. We are week 46. Woohoo! I was just thinking about that this morning. Gosh, 6 weeks before we hit the 1 year. I think we're going to have to do something on the 1 year mark. Who knew that we would even get here on many, many levels? But it is exciting for me that we are still here and we are still doing this, and things are still moving along, and it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Obviously, a lot of you think it's pretty cool too, because you're still here with me and you're still doing. And okay, what else going on, Andy? Anything new? I can't think of anything except for that. Oh yeah, I was saying this before we got started. So Foursquare is our Zoom coming up on Friday. We also on Friday have the Zoom along after we do this class. So if you want to join us and work at your bench, but don't want to work alone, that's what Zoom alongs are meant for. And then tonight, almost forgot, tonight is Wine on Wednesday at 4:30 Eastern. So, we're going to hang out, have some wine. I definitely need it because I finally put Virtually Overcrafting to bed, which is it to bed? I don't know what the saying is. But anyway, so I finally finished Virtually Overcrafting, which means I can let my hair down just for a little bit because, it's done. It was 2 weeks worth of a lot of work. So I'm ready for a drink tonight and have a few cocktails and happy hour. And hopefully you guys will join us. The link, if you're looking for it, has posted. I'm nearly positive it's posted on the Q Talk Facebook group. And I did post it this morning on the Q Farm Gray Facebook page. So by the way, hello to everybody on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with me there. Do send us a little like, or on Twitch especially, say hi and tell us where you're twitching in from or where you're watching from, because it's really great for our algorithm. We really appreciate it. And we're also simulcasting on 2 Facebook pages, Q Talk Live, or Q Talk and Q Farm Gray. So if you're on the Q Farm Gray page, come on over to the Q Talk page. You'll find all the information and classes there. So one other thing I want to just shout out is someone reached out to me today and said, "Hey, listen, I only want to see what you're doing and hanging out because, I don't have a budget for it. Can I still join your group?" Like, of course you can. That's what we're here for. We're here to share the love of what we do. And yes, granted, it would be nice to make a little money along the way because our income's a little challenge these days. But yeah, absolutely. If you're just out there watching, hey, watch, enjoy, and hopefully you'll join the community and, whatever. That's just really great stuff. All right. So that said, let's get going. Today is step-by-step surprise again. On a lot of the Wednesdays, we do step-by-step surprise projects, and let me explain what that is. Step-by-step surprise projects are surprise kits. So you don't know what you're getting, but there are clues out there as to what the project's going to be. If you look on the Urban Beater website, urbanbeater.com website, you'll see the classes posted there, and you can register for the surprise classes or the Zooms that we do. And if you look at the tools list and the materials list, it gives you a little bit of an indication of what we're making. But the whole point is to have you just follow along and work along with, well, maybe not work along with, because I've been told I do this a little bit too quickly. But anyway, so that you can work along, and voila, at the end it is a surprise. So the only way to get details and the pattern and what the gauges of wire are and whatnot, or what product I'm using, is to sign up for the project and to order the kit. So all you're going to get here is technique, and the details, you'll have to order the kit. So that is the whole premise of the step-by-step surprise projects. So I'm pretty excited about this project today. It's called Valentino. It is February, and what's coming up is Valentine's Day. So I'm pretty sure most of you guessed what this project's going to be. And I've been sitting here debating on whether or not I wanted to show you, or I don't know what I want to do, because I'm still like, I love this project. Okay. So that's it. And by the way, if you didn't order it, you still have time, because some of you don't like surprises and you'd rather wait to see the project before you order it in, which is fine. So this is still available out there to order. And again, that is at theurbanbeater.com. Just navigate your way to the classes section. Okay, so what are you going to need today? A ruler is a definite, is a must. A bench block is a maybe. A leather mallet is a maybe. Flush cutters is a must. You can use side cutters too. I really prefer to use flush cutters. It makes my life a heck of a lot easier. A honeycomb block with some pins and a rotating platform to solder on is helpful. Okay, and that's pretty. Oh, and of course a solder pick today. We're soldering today, so you'll need a solder setup. The usual for today, because we're using copper, is going to be copper solder paste, pickle, torch, butane, copper tweezers, fire tweezers. Okay, that's it. There we are. So here we go. Let's jump in. Oops, I have tape on my wire here. All right. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut your pieces into 8 3.5 to 4 inch pieces. Okay. So if you want a little more working room, then you'll cut it at 4. If you think you're okay at 3.5, that's fine too. But really, the final piece is more like 3.25. But you do need about 1/4 inch to play with, okay? Or for a margin of error. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut these. Wow. Eight pieces. So I don't know if it's going to be a 1 session or 2 session today. I'm just going to work along and see what happens. Okay. So I like to cut 1 piece and only measure once, and I use that as my template. So remember, 8 pieces all together. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more makes 8. Okay. And if you haven't figured it out already, yes, this is going to be a little bit similar to the ornamental project if you were following along back in November. Okay. So here, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and anneal it. You don't have to, but it's going to make my life a lot easier if I simply anneal it. So we'll just put it on here. Now be careful, these pieces are thin and you don't want to melt anything. We just want to soften it up even more. As soft as this is and as thin as this is, it is nice to get it just a little bit more soft. So we're just going to heat it up just like so. Okay. If this was silver, I probably would have already melted already. So be careful with that. Don't go overheating this stuff. It is very thin. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to stick this in the pickle and pickle that for a second. So if your pieces are getting lost in the pickle, you might want to make yourself a basket. I know it's not very good looking, but it's a well-loved basket. So all this is an HDPE plastic container that I drilled holes into, and that way nothing gets lost on the bottom of my pickle pot. Okay. So remember, there was a question again about what the gauges of the wires are. Don't forget, I only give specifics if you've purchased the kits. It's all in the instructions there. By the way, everybody should have gotten an email last night with all the tools and stuff that you needed for today. Okay, so we're pickling. That should be good. All right. Okay, so this is a little bit tedious, but it's, you know what? These tedious projects are really cool because in the end, if you take the time and do your due diligence, it always produces a really nice project, right? Okay. Okay, want to dry that off really well. I don't know why I'm struggling with drying these pieces off today. Yipes. Okay. There we go. Now you can work on your workbench or you can work on your honeycomb block directly. But I'm just going to put this here. So you're going to put 4 pieces down. Like so. Did I lose one? Did I not count that? Wait a second, I think I lost one. What the heck? Okay, do I not know how to count? I clearly don't know how to count. Yipes. Golly. Okay, so I'm going to cut another piece. You need 8 pieces. It's a challenging day. It's not Monday, but it might as well be. I don't know. Let's see. I'm just cutting another piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and peel this piece too. And stick that in the pickle while I start the other pieces. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little weave. And you always know when you get all these flat pieces of wire when you're working with me, you always know that we're going to weave. Oh, hey, look at that. I found the other piece. I dropped it in my I dropped it in my quench water and didn't see it. Okay, oops. There it is. Okay, so we have 4 pieces. We start with 4 pieces down, and then we start weaving with the other pieces. Okay, so over, under is what we're doing. You can tape this if it's better for you to tape it, then tape it, okay? But I like to go ahead and haphazardly start my first one, and then once I put the second one in, it tightens everything up a little bit, right? So there's my first one. I'm gonna hold that down, and then we're gonna go to the second one. Oops. Under, over, under. There we go. You see how it's starting to tighten up? And I'm going to move it all the way down, and we're going to work this into a corner. Just like so. Again, you might find it helpful to tape this down. And I'm just moving this out to get it to be spaced out properly. You see that? Okay. So here, find something pointy like a pair of tweezers and move it down. Just like so. And I'm going to put in a third one, and again, working in opposites like so. We're weaving, okay? We are weaving. And as I'm doing this, you notice I'm starting to move all these pieces together because I really don't want it to be this big. I want it to be as tight as I want it, as I can get it. Now, understand though, when you're doing this, the tighter it is, the smaller the piece will be, okay? So I'm just gonna move them down. see that? And actually I'm going to pull out my, I'm sure my bent nose would be nice for this. There we go. Okay. And then this way also. So notice how when I push this down, this all starts to tighten up a little bit, which is nice. And it starts coming together and staying in place. Okay, so now I'm going to move the next one down. I realize that this is not even here. You can see that. But I'll adjust it here in a minute. Because I know it's going to shift as soon as I do this. See? There we go. And I'm working really, really slowly. Is it like watching paint dry? I'm sure it's like watching paint dry. Because I know that if I rush this process, I can tell you right now, if I rush this process, it's going to all fall apart. Okay. Been there, done that. Okay, so now, so I'm really close. What I want to do really is to make sure that this becomes a square. If you look at it right now, you see, it's more of a rectangle, right? So I'm going to move these around, oops, to create more of a square. I know some of you out there who ordered the kit are like, oh dear God, did I get myself involved in another weave? Okay. So, buyer beware. The next time I do a weave, I think I'm going to call it a weave. But I love these projects. Don't ask me why, I just do. Okay. So what am I doing? I'm just futzing is what I'm doing. And I'm moving my wires closer together and just manipulating the spacing on my wires. And I'm trying not to distort any of these wires. Well, I'm glad someone out there likes the weave. Okay, there we go. Back in. And I'm just trying to move these rungs down because I want this a little bit tighter. I know some of you guys are crying out there. Well, maybe not right now, but you will be later. Oh, yeah. Okay. So did anybody register for Virtually Ever Crafting yet? I know some of you have. I see some of your names out there. It's pretty cool and pretty exciting. Okay, so you see this is where my extra play comes in. If you can't work this really tightly, because like I said, you want it to cut about 3.5 to 4 inches. If you can't work this really tightly, you're going to want to be closer to the 4-inch mark. You have enough wire there to do that, okay? I know there's a lot of classes out there, aren't they? Aren't there? 108 classes. No one can take them all. We even have weaving classes. I know that we've become very metal centric, but we can't seem to get any of those beading instructors to come join us. We have Pamela Kearns from Canada joining us for beading classes. And then we have Kumihimo. We have 2 Kumihimo people. But would be nice to get a couple more beading instructors to keep this really diverse. Okay, so I think I'm fairly happy with about how square this is, but I still want to move these pieces in here apart a little bit more. So Gail, don't worry, this is just a weave. I'm being really particular about how I want to do this. Okay, there. Pretty even, right? Pretty even. All right, so now I'm going to take the back end of these tweezers and I'm really going to press this down to get it to come together. Okay, just like that. Make sure that your wires are really dry, because if you're going to be working with solder paste, it's not going to want to stick if you're using solder paste. But if you're using chip solder, it doesn't really matter so much. Okay. And again, I'm just being a little anal retentive today. I don't know why. It's that kind of day. Stop moving. Okay, so now I'm going to pin it because it keeps moving on me, but we'll go ahead and pin it at this point. It's so close to where I want it to be that I should be pretty happy to pin this in place. I know Lena is out there screaming, pin it! I hear you, even though you didn't say it. I know. She's always the one who's telling me to use my honeycomb block. So now you want to go ahead and pin it in place. This will be helpful as you make more adjustments. There we go. Again, just being a little anal retentive about this today. There we go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start placing solder. It's a great project, but it's a little like watching, like I said, paint dry, because it's tedious, right? It's just real tedious. Now, you don't have to be too crazy particular about placing your solder, because this is going to go on the inside anyway. And at the very least, you want to make sure that the outside pieces are soldered. They don't have to be soldered on the inside, although it will create a lot more stability for you if you go ahead and take the time to put solder on the inside areas. Okay. There we go. Little bit at a time. The neater you are about placing your solder, the less cleanup you have later. So make sure you keep your pieces nice and neat. So I'm going to place it at everywhere where it's crossed over, right next to it. You see that? Just right next to the side. It should just suck right in there. Did I get everything? I think I got everything. Okay. Set that aside. I know, it's very tedious work here. This one doesn't want to come in real tight, but I'm going to force it. There we go. Okay. So now we'll just heat this whole thing until it solders. Keep either your solder pick in hand or your fire tweezers, just in case things start lifting, you know, because metal does flex sometimes, and sometimes you just want to just push it together like that. So making sure that all the pieces are flowing. Like this one doesn't look like it wants to flow. There we go. There we go. Okay. Because it's copper, you want to give it a minute to set. It's not like silver where it sets right away. I'm quenching my pins on the side because I don't want to make the mistake of picking up a hot pin. So you might want to get in the practice of quenching your pins. And let's see. All right, it's looking pretty good. What do you think? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to check my pieces. Cool. Okay. So we'll pickle that and then we'll do the next step. Give that a minute. My pickle is on the side. If y'all don't know what pickle is, for those of you who are new here, pickle is basically sulfuric acid. It's only approximately like 4% by volume, and it's used to remove fire scale. So if you notice, my metal had all oxidized and gotten pretty yucky looking. So we put it into the pickle to remove that the oxidation, also known as fire scale, so that it can solder. Because if there's too much fire scale on there, it won't solder properly. And that's what we're doing. All right, it's going to take a minute to pickle there. So Janet says she loves weaving. Maybe I'm going to have to come up with another weaving project. I know, just a torment, y'all. Did everybody finish the ornament project from over the holidays? I hope so. I know, you're like, but where am I going to do with it? I still have till next year. Well, work on it. Send me a picture. I love that project. All right, we're going to leave the pliers out and move on to the next step. Okay, so my pickle pot's not really that big, so only part of this got pickled. So give me another minute. I need to flip it over and pickle the other parts. Wah! Oops. Okay, so the first part is always finicky, okay? If you can't get it to happen, then solder like 2 or 3 pieces first and then start moving. Actually solder like 2 pieces and put the 4 down and then solder the 1 rung across, and then that will create stability so that you don't have to solder it all at once. If you've been following along, you know I just love to solder everything in one shot. Okay, this is not a great pickling job, as you can see. Stick it back in there. I don't know. Oops. So what else are we doing with, so what else is coming up? Oh, the Secret Garden bracelet is coming up in a few weeks. There's still some kits available for that. And, oh, if you were on the Zoom along last week where we were just hanging out and Zooming, by the way, Zoom alongs are just to work at the bench, because you know what? All of us are working so remotely and alone right now that it's not fun. So what did I do during the Zoom along this past week? I did this. So I'm working on projects right now for Lapidary Journal, and this is going to become a necklace. So they're textured silver with some CZs into each piece. See? So it gives a little bit of sparkle. I'm excited about this. It turned out a lot better than I thought. And from a couple months ago, this will be a lapidary journal project too. So those are my two latest ones. Okay, this pickle has just decided to no longer work. It's really weird. Okay, so it's really not cleaning up, but I'm gonna keep moving. Hold on, I'm gonna fill my other pickle pot with some water. So the names of the kits that I just showed, this one is the Secret Garden bracelet, and then this one is Foursquare. This one is not going to be a Zoom at all. This is going to be an article for Lapidary Journal. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so this is where it sort of gets a little bit confusing, and that's what the directions will come in and help you. Okay, so when you're working here, you want to make sure that you put the good side down. So if you notice, one of my sides has a lot of solder, so I'm going to work with that facing up. Okay, and oops, we want to work this way. You want to work from the center and you work your way towards the middle. Okay, so again, you want the good side to be facing down and the bad side to be facing up, because this is going to be on the inside. So we're going to move this over. Oops, why can't I think? Hold on, let me think about this for half a second. Oh yeah, okay, so we're going to move it over like so. And then this one, and make sure this is nice and round. Can you see that? And then this one, same thing. We're going to move it over. You see? This is what we're creating. And then the next one, you'll do the same thing. And we're going to go, oops, that did not bend the way I want it to bend. So I'm just helping it out with my fingers because these wires are really soft, right? And because the first one went under, the next one will go over. Let me zoom in. Do you see that? So the first one's under, the next one is over. So then, again, they're a little fickle. You'll have to keep it in your fingers and keep track. And notice how I'm just sort of curling that up. So now, the second one, remember working from the center and working your way out, okay? So this one, of course, will go under, but it has to go over that one. So you see, we're just gonna, you see how that's working? Okay. So then that crisscrosses, but yet you have an over, under, and then you have on the other side an under, over. Okay. And then this one, and notice I'm crossing over the first one. The third one will cross over the first two. So now, because the second one went under, this third one will go over. Okay? And I'm just sort of straightening that out. I have a curl on there, so I'm going to pull out my my nylon nose and straighten that out. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go over. Now, I'm looking here. Do you see that bend? I don't like that bend, so I'm going to fix it. It's a little too sharp for me, and you want to fix your bends here. And if you haven't figured it out yet, we are making a heart. So this goes over and under. You see? Just like so. And I'm being really gentle about what I'm doing. Now this one, same thing. I'm going to go over the first two like I did on the right side. So the left side does the same thing as the right side. So it goes over the first two. And because that one's under, we're going to go over the rung to the opposite side. I'm being, like I said, being really careful here to just manipulate it. It is copper and it has been annealed. It's really soft. So again, you see I'm over, under, now I need to go over. Like so. You see it's starting to come together, right? And I lost my last rung over here, so I'm just going to play with it a little bit to push it back. You see? And because it's a little too severe this way, I'm going to help it. Just like so. Okay. And then the last one goes over everybody. And because we are under here, we're going to go over it. Just like so. Not too crazy of a weave here. It just looks crazy. That's what's really cool about these projects, is they look much more complicated than they are. I promise. I know, you're still crying out there, but I promise it looks a lot more complicated than it is. Okay. Okay, do you see that? That for me is not nice. So I'm going to pull it out one more time. I'm going to straighten that out. And then we're going to, where am I going? I'm going over and under. Okay. There it is. There you are. And I'm just playing with it as I'm going, just to make sure it's good. So if you notice, the weave is not square like this, okay? It's going at an angle. It's going at an angle like so. You do want it to be at more of a 45. So we'll just manipulate it out. Okay, so this one, same thing. Over all three of the first ones. This one's probably the hardest one. So because we had an under, we're going to start with an over. Gently push it down. Notice I'm also working my fingers from underneath and pushing it up to help my weave. And I'm just gently feeding it through. Okay, so I'm going to bend this just a little bit. I'm going to bend this just a little bit down so I can get it under that other one. Just a little bit, just to help it out. There we go. And again, you see, so we're just going to move it in and tighten it. A really small, slow, deliberate moves. And now I'm just going to start tightening them in. So I'm pushing it together. Okay, zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to push it down. And you see the tops, they're not real even, so I'm going to try to get that even. And then I'm going to even these out. And this is just playing, okay? You'll just play with your wires until it comes together the way you want it. Over, so this goes under, like so. You see that? And if you need to bend these wires a little bit, like either up or down to get it to tighten, you do that. You'll feel it when you're working with it. So the question is, how long did it take me to design it? Frankly, these are traditional paper designs. So I can't say that I designed it at all. But what I did do was I translated it into a metal form. And that's what's sort of fun about it is, and that's why, you know, some of these weaves, it feels really good because they're traditional. They've been around forever, and it sort of evokes these feelings from these nostalgic feelings because you've seen it before, right? It's not so new. Okay. So you see it? There we are. Okay, so what I'm going to keep, so this has gotten it's starting to get springy on me from all the work that I've done. I'm going to go ahead and anneal this again, okay, to get it to soften up. And I'm going to pickle it and see if I can manipulate the wires a little bit more. And we'll think about soldering here just a minute. So you want to just sort of anneal this, but you don't want to open up any of the solder joints. Remember that, because what's the point of that? Okay, nice quench on the side. Throw it in the pickle. Pickle should be nice and hot. So why do we use hot pickle? Because it works faster. You can use cold pickle if you don't have a little crock pot. By the way, if you don't have a crock pot, go, well, aside from COVID, go to your local Goodwill. They always have them, and they usually have them for like $5. I picked up a new one there for $5, and actually I picked up several from there. So yeah, you don't need to buy new, although it is new. Support your local Goodwill, right? Okay. Or Salvation Army. Or thrift store. Whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to dry it again. Really nice and dry. Okay. Oops. So now I'm just going to play. I'm just going to manipulate these wires until they are to the shape that I want it to be. There we go, much better. I couldn't get it done with my hands, so I'm helping myself out with a pair of pliers. And I'm finding that these bent nose are really great for this. By the way, all the tools I'm using are available at theurbanbeater.com. That's one way to show your support for what we are doing here. Okay. Come on. Why are you not moving today? Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm going to start drinking early today. Wine on Wednesday starts at 4:30, but I feel like 2 o'clock is a good time. I did put in a bottle of wine before we started. It's not chilled yet. I'm sure of it, but hey. Chilling's overrated, right? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm spreading things around. Oops, I lost a rung. Oh, I lost that rung. Okay, there we go. So I'm just playing and being really particular about this. Again, don't ask me why I'm being so particular about it, but I am. Okay. All right, so now we'll solder these pieces. Would be nicer if they had a better form or shape. You can work with that. I feel like you're not liking me right now, so I'm gonna stop fussing. I'm gonna throw a little tiny bit of heat on there because it's still wet. Okay, and I'm actually going to flip this over. I'm going to put solder on the bottom of this. How hot are you? You're not that hot. Okay, I'm gonna open this up just a little bit. All right. So the thing is, I flipped it over and I'm working on the bottom. Okay, so here I'm just going to go ahead and put some solder on the rungs like I did before. I'm going to try to be neat about it. And again, you don't have to do all of the joints, but you do have to do all the outside ones, right? At the very least. Okay, just a couple more here. That's done, that's done. Yeah, we're good. So if you want to see, let's zoom in. Okay, so if you want to see, I'm on the inside, okay? So we're going to heat this, and I'm going to take out my, I'm going to take out my solder pick, and I'm going to push this down because some of these pieces, they're not really together or touching, and this is insurance, and I'm just pushing them down to each other to solder so they make a nice connection. Hello, Erta. Haven't seen you for a long time from the Ukraine. Okay. There we are. Punch that and see what that looks like. Wow. I'm going to check these joints. Ah, pretty good. Throw it in the pickle again. And then we're going to trim it and see if we can put it together. See, it wasn't that painful, was it? It was just painful to watch. But to do it, again, it's a little bit tedious. But anytime you're working with a weave and wire, it's a little bit tedious. It's not like working with reed when you're weaving. Done that. I do like to do that, though. I know that there's a few weavers out there. Say hello. So bone carving. I don't know why weaving and bone carving made me think of bone carving again. But the bone that you need to get because she's from Australia, Storm's from Australia. This I'm talking about virtually evercrafting. Because she's from Australia, she's not providing kits, and you're on your own for the materials. But to get the bone for the bone carving, it's actually from Nantucket basket suppliers because they use the bone for scrimshaw. So I don't know, just an interesting factoid. That's all. Okay. Pickling on the side. Almost there. Again, pickling today is just not a thing. Don't know why. Okay, so now we have your form. I'm going to play with the top a little bit because I want my shoulders to be nicer. I know, if I want my shoulders to be nicer, shouldn't I lift weights? And then I'm just going to push these together. You see that? It's going to puff. Poof. These are not soldered, which is correct, which means you can still manipulate them. You see how I'm doing that? So I'm going to push this in, just like so. And I'm going to get these corners together, just like so. So pull out your bezel shears or your side cutters, either one, and let's trim these. So we're going to trim the ends off, just like so. Okay. If any of these did not solder, go ahead and resolder it at this point. Definitely thin enough to use bezel shears if you want to. Okay, so you want to move it so that the ends come together. Whoa. So notice I squished it a little bit too much. And the other thing too is, because my weave is not great, I'm going to show you. It would have been much better if my weave was symmetrical on both sides. You can get it there, trust me. Today's just not a great day, so I did not get it there. We just kept moving. But you want to make sure you move those rungs and get it as symmetrical to the other as possible. And notice how I move that together so that the ends, you see that? You can't even see that. Let's see, there you go, are together, okay? So they're nice and together, and we're gonna solder this today. So we'll just put a little bit of solder there. If they aren't together, that's okay. We're going to push them together. So a little bit of solder between them. Is that enough? A little more. All right, so I'm going to heat this. Let's come in a little bit. Ooh. So I'm going to show you. I have a little bit of solder in there, and yes, there's a gap. I'm going to hold this down with my solder pick. Just like that. You see that? And that's what's going to get this to come together. There we go. There we go. And notice how I'm holding that down a little bit longer because it has to set. It needs a minute to set. See, there it is. Let's quench that. Okay, just about done. So not knowing how long this was going to take, I had scheduled this for 2 sessions. So next week what we're going to do is, that was not part of this project, but I'm going to do a bonus round on this project, and I'm going to show you how to embellish it a little bit more. Let's pickle this, and I'll show you what it's going to look like here. The final reveal. Okay. Dun, da, da, da. You see, if you can get this really nice and symmetrical, you see that? So this was the original that I had tested and played around with. And you can see it's much more symmetrical. So you want to make sure you try to get this as square as possible. Okay, this is slightly off. You can sort of see that it's a bit of a rectangle, and it makes the weave a little bit funky, but I was able to get the other side to be really close to that also. So we'll clean that up. How are we doing in the pickle? So it only occurred to me as I was processing through, as I was working through this, how can we embellish this? I came up with some great embellishments. So come back next week and I'll show you how to add some embellishments. So next week, that's your homework, is you need to get this done by next week, and then I'll show you how to embellish it. The question is, how would you hang this? You know what? I put away my my chain. Hold on, let's see if I can grab some chain here. I have no chain here. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me grab a chain. I'll show you how to hang this. All right. Hanging this is simple. Just like that. See? And you know, I said that this was sort of a wearable piece. For me, it's a little bit big, but for some people, it's a great size. So how big is this really? It's about 1 3/4, which is not huge, right? And by 1 1/4. So it's not really that big, but you've seen my jewelry. I don't typically wear things that are particularly large. Let's pull this out of the pickle and do a little bit of finishing on it before I send you all on your day. And someone said a red beaded Kumi Himo necklace would look nice. Yeah, I think that would be a great thing for this one. Okay. So again, we are struggling a little bit with the pickle today. I think it's time for new pickle. I feel like it's been contaminated because it's not cleaning up. What did I do? I know. To think I'm the only one working here. Ha! So pull out your steel wool. Pull out your, yeah, so weird. Pull out your steel wool and pull out your brass brush. And you can clean this up. So I don't know what's going on because this is a very not happy pickling, not pickled piece. So you'll just clean that up like so if you don't want to embellish anymore. But next week we'll add some silver embellishments onto it just for fun. Something that has just only occurred to me today. So other than that, we are done. Woohoo! Took a lot less time than I thought. Okay, that's my piece. There's the original. That's what happens when you do it right and when your pickle works. I know, of all things. Okay, so Wine on Wednesdays tonight's at 4:30. I'll be doing a lot of drinking. Hopefully you'll come and join me. On Friday we have the Zoom, Foursquare, and then the Zoom along at 1:30. And next week, we're going to continue on Monday with Motley Metal Mondays. And that's the enamel projects for the next 7 weeks. I know, week 1 already done. And we will do some embellishment next Wednesday on the Valentino project. So for now, thank you for hanging out. Thanks for liking everything. Go take a look at virtuallyevercrafting.com. Maybe we'll see your registration there. Have a good rest of the week.